Everybody, welcome to the Jess plus Scott plus You show. In preparation for this show today, anything and everything that could have cropped up did. And one of the things that I love about days like today is that it reminds me how much and how much there is that I can have gratitude for all of the craziness that occurs, knowing that everything that happens in a day is leading up to where I'm going. And today it happens to be the destination of the Jess plus Scott plus You show. When I think about things like that, it makes me, it makes me evaluate. What if I reacted differently? Or if I find myself frustrated, what does that look like? And how can we tie some of those things and how we approach things and maybe our feelings towards ourselves to reaching our goals and going forward for a dream, actually living it step by step each day? We're going to talk more about that with Brett Hamilton, and we'll be right back.
Okay, Jess, take it away, please.
You got it. Don't forget to hit that B button. Hit the B button.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. We're good to go. Everybody, that is just considered an inside joke between me and Scott. And when you hear that, that's like being able to see the, where the tape is on the floor and where all the cords are that actually make up everything behind the scenes, which, by the way, is one way that Scott and I live our dream of bringing a conversation with really cool people to you each week. What do you think about that, Scott?
I couldn't agree more. We've got, one of the things I'm interested in, Jess, is that we utilize words, even though we still dial a telephone, and you were talking about tape, even though we're not using tape at all because this is all electronic. This is the 21st century technology that we're involved in.
Isn't that the truth? And everybody, to discuss with us living the dream with you today is Brett Hamilton, and we are so excited to have him with us. Yay! Brett, will you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Brett Hamilton. My company is Hammy's, which is basically Hammy's Furniture, and I'm an artist that pretty much I express myself through my furniture, and one of the sayings I have is I love to build from the furniture out. So I start with my furniture and I build all kinds of complementing pieces that spread out throughout a home or backyard, and kind of whatever ideas pop into my head that come getting mixed around and thrown out is what I do.
And one of the things that I knew Brett first, and then Jess knows him now as well. And one of the things I noticed almost from the beginning, Brett, is that you are all in. It is not as if you are kind of thinking about it or it's conditional or whatnot. This is something that you had thought about for a while, and then you jumped in entirely. Could you talk a little, because we're talking about living the dream, could you express a little bit about the events that led you up to realizing that you had this drive, and then what was it that was the transition between where you were before and where you are right now?
Oh, yes, definitely. For me, it started, I was probably 21 or 22 years old, and I'd been out of my parents' house for a couple years and needed furniture. So my parents had a shop for their business that was a fire protection shop, and so I started building a dresser in the back of their shop for my home. And then I was on a second project, which was a Oak Entertainment Center, and just loving it, building furniture. Um, and I said to myself, if there's anything I could do in life, um, I would want to be a custom furniture builder. So that kind of where it started. And, going through life, I needed to develop my talents and my skills. And um, it that's the original start of my dream, was back there. And then I started pursuing it. It was more or less a hobby for probably 12 years after that. And then I was sitting on a beach in Parker Dam, California, where I had a little summer home. And my first project where my art and my furniture kind of collided, and I built a vase and a table and a chair set that kind of reflected the scene I was looking at. Um, and then I jumped into it, had some time, and I put a couple years into it there, and then took a job doing fire protection again for another, well, 8 years. And in that 8 years, I really knew that's what I wanted to do. And so every single second that I had of time, I put into developing my talents and my skills to get there. And then it was about a year and a half before I met you, is when I jumped into it for another 3 months when I had time, some time off of work, then got back into work, worked for, I'd say, another 9 months, and then I went all in. And that
Now,
was my jump there.
that's really cool. And I think it's interesting that you had a journey to jumping all in, because I can tell you on any one of my projects, it's kind of a blurred line of when it starts out as something I want to do and how it builds into something that takes up all my time, and then it's like, okay, now if it's not making money, how do I have it make money so that I can continue to do what I'm doing and provide for my family and the obligations I've chosen to have in my life. And I find that interesting that you made that jump and you knew this was the time, because and maybe I do and I don't remember, but I don't have that type of experience, and I wonder, I wonder if that's a little bit of a mindset. But before we go there, I'd like to go back, because when you were earning a living to take care of responsibilities, and Scott, you probably have some opinions about this too, and I would love to hear them, would be when you're doing something to make ends meet and cover all the obligations, how does that make you feel toward the thing that you really want to be doing? For you, Brett, it's building your your furniture, and for Scott, it's going to be something else, and for me, it's going to be something else. But what is that? Well, what does that look like when I go out and I earn money on something that's not what quote unquote my dream is? What does that do for me? And I'm not asking you to answer for me, but I'm asking you to answer for you.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You and Scott both, but Scott's
Okay.
talking muted.
Yeah, I saw his mute, and I said, I don't know if that's for Scott or for me.
I think it was for both of us, but why don't you go, Brett?
Yeah, for me, it was went through a period of time where really wanting to jump into it. But yes, we have that whole paychecks and pension credits part, where that's a valuable thing because that's our livelihood. And even though I wanted to jump in and wanted to jump in, I think for myself it was saving money, and then it got to a point where I think that I just couldn't take it anymore. I just had to jump in and pursue my dream and put it all on the line. And so if that kind of gives you a perspective, for me it was I couldn't take it anymore.
Okay,
I just
got
had
it.
this draw
Okay. What
that
about
the risk was worth
Okay,
taking.
there you go. Okay, what about you, Scott?
Well, I'm interested, Brett, that you said that you had to do it, and I really don't want to go down stereotypes, and I think these things are like the weather, their tendencies, and so forth. So with all of those disclaimers, basically, guys have provider genes and women have nurturing genes, and and not to put too much of a point on it, we feel as if we have to provide for our families, and if we don't do that, then there's a great big conflict within us. So now we have a dream on the one hand, and we have this need to provide. And in the best of all worlds, what we try and do is we try and fulfill our dream, and at the same time, that allows us to be providers for our family and the ones that we love and so forth. Uh, and we if we pursue our dream in, let's say it's our art, and we don't provide, then that means that we're being selfish.
No. Boo.
I know, and that is the theme of, but and yet what is the imperative? Is it more important for us to either provide or for us to nurture or for us to pursue our own dream? And that might be, this is a
Can I
topic
say
that we're
yes
going to be
and
drilling
yes?
down.
I want
Go
to say
for it.
yes, yes, and yes. Because when I look at what, I listened, Brett, to what you said, and Scott, I'm listening to what you were saying, and I think it's, when it comes to living the dream, it's the thing that no matter what else is going on in your life and all the other stuff that just has to occur to survive or live, there's still this calling. There's something in our hearts that just pulls us out into the world, and that desire, I think, is what allows us to live the dream or not. We can either smush it out, snuff it out, hide it behind a lot of layers of who knows what, or not. And I think so I guess I would say, Scott, let's be selfish about it, and let's say, hey, I don't want those layers of crap and stuff that don't show the world the real me and don't give me fulfillment. I want to have fulfillment, but I also want to show up and take care of the things that I need to take care of, and I'm going to be really creative to be able to do that. What about you guys?
Oh yes, being creative is a huge part of it because you have to give some things up for a while, and I believe with the end goal of being able to do more. Um,
Yes.
that might have to go through some slim times, I guess you might want to say. Might have to, who knows what might pop up. Whatever might pop up and you go through, you they could happen. But it's all with the goal of being yourself and thriving with what inspires you and your love of life and everything else, that there's going to be more fruit at the end of the road.
And everybody joining us, this is the Just plus Scott plus You show, where we're talking about living the dream. And joining us tonight is Brett Hamilton. Scott, what would you add?
Well, one of my goals tonight is just to see how deep we can mine this very rich subject, and continuing on with what Brett was just saying and what you said, Jess, on our deathbed. I think the goal is that we can all breathe easy and die without regret, and that would be a life well lived. And so there may be an inherent gap between the circumstances in which we find ourselves and whatever that would mean. And in this context of tonight's conversation, it is a gap between our circumstances and truly living our dream. And a lot of the things that we talk about are how do you navigate around all of the obstacles that are out there so as to be able to attain that goal. And there are some basics about the value of gratitude and keeping a positive attitude, uh, uh, being able to let things go, breathing, um, proper exercise, proper nutrition. I mean, there are the basics that people go through, and they might be different for different people. So at the end of the day, the barometer might be that a person who is A, doesn't even realize what their dream is, or B, has abandoned any idea of a dream, has not has not, what's the word I'm looking for, been able to marshal the perfectly doable human resources to overcome the problems that might be arising, keeping us from the dream that we have.
Okay,
That's
well
pretty hardcore.
Put that into Scott terms. How does that relate to Scott's experience?
Well, my gosh, uh, whatever, and this is just not me. We're all on our own path, on our own paths, and even if the outcome is not clear, it might become a journey of faith. So you end up having faith in yourself and having faith in those with whom you rely in order to go forward. And it would be a travesty to pull your punches. Now, there may be times that you'll have to take detours. I mean, if you're raising a kid the first several years, there are just things that you need to do in order to attend to that. But maybe your dream is also having a loving family and um, being a good parent. So
Notice,
it's
everybody, he has totally deflected this question and is not going to put it into Scott world. I'm totally calling you out on that, Scott.
no, I talked about living the dream, and that's what I'm doing. I talked about
Okay, how
parenthood.
about this? What are you doing today to live your dream, Scott?
I'm on the Just Plus God Plus You show.
Woohoo! I can say the same. What about you, Brett?
Oh, I'm on the same. I'm on the Just Plus Scott Plus You show. But actually, one thing that Scott brought up was a detour, and
Yes.
and path.
Yep.
And everybody has their path um, to pursuing dreams into life and everything else. And then he said detour, and I've taken several detours along. Mine's been a long path to get to where I'm at with hammies and furniture and everything else. So I'm on a detour right now because I took a job with a former company I worked with. They called up a couple months ago with a great opportunity for me. And my intuition said, go for it. Do you want to take this amount of money you have to continue for a few months, or do you want to buy some time and self-fund yourself? And here, I believe opportunities float by all the time. It depends which ones you want to grab. And so I grabbed this one. I felt it was right. And so for me, that's, it's just working with it. And everybody's little path is different.
Which is
So,
awesome.
yeah,
And
it
I
is. It's a
love what
beautiful
you
thing.
said. I love what you said, that opportunities pass by all the time. And the thing is, we have to be in the right place to see the opportunities. So the ones that we do see are the ones that will best serve us right now most of the time. I mean, we can get in our own way, and I'm not going to discount that. We can get in our heads. We can be too much in our hearts. There's so many things that could happen somewhere along that spectrum. And I like what Scott was saying about detours and what you were saying about detours, and how sometimes it might seem like a detour, but it's actually the fastest path, and we don't know until we're well on our way because we have decided, listen to the little voice somewhere around us, or taken a leap of faith, or said, weighed the risks, depending on how we approach the world, to actually move forward. So I love the concept of that. Now, what would be, okay, so for somebody who's out there, would a question be, one of my questions would be, well, these are the things I've got to do before I start living my dream. When you hear something like that, what comes to mind, and what would your response be to that?
Oh, wow. The things you need to do before. Um, I would have to say you have to have full confidence in yourself and believe and in who you are and what you want to be and your goal and your dream is the biggest thing. And I believe that one way or other you're going to succeed. And I think if you sit there, if I was, or not you, if I was to sit there and go, well, I need this amount of money and I need this and I need this and I need this and I need all these things in line before I jump, that I would have never jumped. That it's almost a leap of faith and believing and going for it. So,
I love
um,
that. And the
Yeah.
steps don't have to be, they don't have to be huge steps. You're right. The things that you outlined there, those are actually pretty, not only are they things that that stop people up, they tend to be one thing that has like many, many steps in it, and so it becomes overwhelming versus just going, oh, I've got that. I've got that dream. So what do I do today to point me in that direction? It doesn't have to necessarily be on the path, because we don't know what the path is going to look like, but we have that vision of that dream, and we have our way of getting there. And it might be getting an education. It might be like one of the things I did. I totally and completely changed gears at one point in my life, and I went back to college because I had dropped out to start a company, and it was very successful, and it was great. It was one of my personal goals to finish my college degree. And so when I went back to school, I could have continued to do what I was doing and have been stressed out and to really have worried all the time about how was I going to juggle all this or make the class or do all of the different things and meet my client requirements and all the stuff that was going on with the company that I was working for. And I decided, no, why do that? So I decided to sell shoes instead while I went to school. And it was the weirdest thing, and everybody gave me second looks like, you're doing what? What are you doing? Well, what did it do for me? I wanted to do something that was more customer facing, and it was the first job I ever had where I got to work with the public. Everything else I had, it was between me and the internet. So that was it was basically the one job that I had that put me out there and being able to interact and see how commerce actually worked on the street, if you will, besides when I was really little and did lemonade stands. So I looked at that and went, well, I've never done it before. I can learn a lot from it, and I have no idea when this will come in handy, but I know I need to do it because it's how the majority of businesses run. Yeah, there are a lot of businesses that actually run all online too, but to have that context is a really important factor.
Yep. Following your intuition.
That's right.
That's what I need to do for whatever your reasons might be.
Yeah.
And sometimes following your intuition, you don't know the exact reason. It's just your intuition talking to you and telling you to. And those answers come as you go.
By the way, some people would go, that's selfish to listen to your intuition. Scott, what do you think about that?
Well, I've seen some people listen to their intuition and be spot on, and other people listen to their intuition and go off the cliff. So, it's that one needs to know oneself, and yet everything that I've learned since I became the reluctant entrepreneur who never looks back is that it's always nice to have a business coach and maybe a life coach and then maybe someone else who can speak truth to power, because sometimes we just get so wrapped up in what we're doing that we don't see from 10 feet above us, let alone the 3,000 foot level. So to be able to construct a support system that keeps you on, and the operative word there is support. They're supporting you, and it's supporting you presumably for your dream. Now, I would say that within that context, intuition plays a huge role, but it doesn't play an exclusive role, and you need to listen to other people as well.
You know what? You just described a personal advisory board. Something near and dear to my heart, Scott.
I'm going to go off script now, and someone who wants to know a little bit more about the advisory board, Jess, what do they do?
Come talk to me. We'll call it that, because otherwise we'll take too big of a detour. But the concept of that. What do I need? How do I do it? What would really help me? And there are so many ways to formulate it. And I actually think, Scott, you were talking about even a life coach in addition to a business coach, or maybe a spiritual advisor or somebody that can guide through meditation. It doesn't matter who we bring into our lives. I actually call the people in my life that do that, they're Team Jess. I'm like, I gotta go to Team Jess. because that's what they're doing. They're giving me a reality check. They're giving me some place to bounce ideas off of. They're giving me a place to vent. And even if it was as simple as the three that you were describing, Scott, it's an awesome place to start. And I think that's necessary, because now we're getting into a little bit of structure of, wow, living the dream can be really overwhelming. I'm taking these steps to get to every single day so I can do what I want to do, this thing that I'm driven to, and I'll do whatever it takes to get there, work in a different industry, work in the same industry in a crap job that I know I'm better than, but I'm there. Whatever this desire is that just leads us and presents us opportunities to get us closer to where we're trying to go, I think is huge. But we actually do have to have a plan. I mean, we do need to be selfish about it. We can listen to our intuition or not. We can have good intuition or not. But we still have to do some of that. And as much as I hate to say it, structure-y type stuff is necessary. I mean, I write down my goals. Do you guys write down your goals?
Brett?
Yes, to a point. I don't go overboard.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I used to find that when I used to try to list every single thing, I ended up with too many lists. And I got none of them accomplished. So
here's to that.
Yes. So I had to do a simplification of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And the basics of what my goals are. And
so you answered my next question by talking about you had so many lists and so many things. It turned out you actually then had to choose what you wanted to work on to be productive.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then it just seems like the lists weren't as important when you have too many things written down. Say,
yes.
You'll never get them, and they'll become overwhelming.
I love it. What about you, Scott?
I find that I write down my goals, but then I lose the pieces of paper I write them down on.
Hey,
there.
Maybe somebody else is finding them, and you're making their whole day and sending them on a path. That could be your gift to the world.
So I'm pretty clear in my head in terms of a couple of 3 goals that I have, and I kind of check back, and I have ways of checking back to see if I'm on track or not, and so that's about the best that I can do.
Ooh, you said another key thing. So we talked about writing them down, knowing what they are, writing them down, and then Scott, you just said check back, and talk even for something as personal as, whether it's a goal to change something in a lifestyle is one of those things where if we just do something but we never check back, how do we know we've invoked any kind of change, let alone the change that we might want?
So another way of asking the same question is, how do you know when you are actually living a dream? And that's a question for you, Brett.
How do I know? I can say, as I've worked on projects, the first part of it, when I knew I was living a dream, when I was building these, and it actually hit. And the first time it hit was in the early 2000s, when I was painting some of the chairs, and I just said, I just love this. I am just having the best time and loving it. That's when I kind of got the first reality of living a dream. And then as it's progressed, building, and when you have that inner happiness and doing all those things that I'm doing and pursuing that dream and the discoveries that you learn along the way, for me, has been kind of living that dream. And even now that I've taken that job, and I'm out there working and I'm taking my little side path, my little detour, I tell myself all the time, man, this is great. I am living my dream. And I think for me, it's at this point of the journey, it's because I'm working towards it. I might not be on it 8 to 10 hours a day every day, but I'm still living it.
So what I think I hear you saying is that there's a large role that the institution of hope plays. What does that make sense? Because at one level, people live their dream, but on another level, it's that you aspire for something beyond? Is it that you're living your dream, or is it that you're aspiring to something, and the mere fact that you can see that you may attain what you're dreaming, is that living? Is that living the dream? And it's getting back to that journey versus destination discussion.
Yes, that's a tough one.
Well,
Um,
I think of it as I'm totally going to jump in here. I think
okay.
of it as a mindset, and I would say it differently. And the words that you use, Scott, aspiring to, and I would say the thing that's in me that's got to get out of me to add value to the people that I cross paths with, to allow me to be fulfilled, that I have purpose while I'm here.
Sometimes we just have to think about what's being said. Instead of having a quick quip back. But what you're just saying is in service to others. Is that an element of a dream? Does a dream have to be unselfish in those terms? That somehow there's a positive contribution to a larger good?
You know what? We are going to table that, and we're going to think about that answer, because I agree with you. And we moved right past my segue just a minute or two ago into the +2 takeaway when we were talking about know it, write it down, come back and look at it. So why don't we take a break, cue up the +2 takeaway, think about the question you just asked, Scott, and when we come back, we'll pick up the conversation from right there.
Sounds like a winner. So here we go.
Here we go.
Well, we can't. Feeling great now. I'm gonna shine. Life is good. I'm doing fine and gonna do it right and do it again. Yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me.
This is a 4x6 card business plan. The only way to do this effectively is to have your huge, whether it's printed or electronic, thunk factor business plan information from. We're going to set it aside, open it up, and pull in the information we need to fill this out. The first thing is the mission of the company. The mission of the company is what? 140 characters or less. I'm not going to say any more. Let's have a conversation offline if you want to talk about that some more in depth, because that could be an entire shout about. The audience. Who are you talking to? I have character customers that I write down their name. They're color-coded in the work that I do. So the name, the color coding, and the need or the want that they have that I can give them a solution for. And that goes into the how or the why the business does what it does, and how both me and my teams can deliver the need or the want to the target audience. Then we're going to flip that right over, and we're going to have the 12-month company initiative and the 12-month personal goal, because we need to know what we're trying to do there, and we need to know what our goals are so that everything we're doing leads up to that. And then the first part will basically stay the same all year round. The next part may change as each milestone is reached. Write down 3 milestones, the next most immediate milestones that will show your progress and success. And underneath that, write down your core values, because it's going to be from those milestones and those core values that you will be able to sift through all of the incoming requests, all of the things that get you excited that you want to take on, and actually prioritize them and choose the ones that get you to the milestones, to your personal goals, and to the business goals over the course of the year, to make sure the how and the why is happening, the audience is served, and you're delivering your mission.
I won $1 million like I hit the pay dirt. Gonna smile from ear to ear, the kind that makes your face hurt. And we'll laugh, jump, sing loud, not afraid to shout about being happy, living it out. Take a look and see a beautiful morning.
Okay. All yours again, Jess.
Oh, I was going to immediately say, so pick up exactly where you left off, Scott.
You said that, and I immediately went blank in terms of what we were talking about. You're going to have to refresh my memory.
That's
I,
okay.
I
Oh,
can
go
help.
ahead. Yeah, Brett, jump.
Oh, I was going to say, wasn't there selfish involved in there? Excuse me.
Yes, there
And
was.
along that journey going, and I was going to say, if you're along this journey and kind of being selfish in some ways, pursuing your dream, is it still selfish if you're inspiring others along the way of being selfish?
I love the way you think.
Thank you.
Because I think the answer is absolutely not. And that's where, from the outside looking in, somebody that knows us or is close to us or maybe or isn't seeing the fact that a dream is being lived, or it's something that they wish they could do, but for some reason have a boundary, a self-boundary, so some sort of limiting belief that they can't, is when I think we get that selfishness. It's when there's an openness and a willingness to see another person. That I know for me, when I meet another person, what is a little bit of their purpose? Why are they doing what they're doing? And how might their journey be beneficial to me and inspiring to me, or bring me some gratitude in a roundabout way? I think that you might be onto something, because I actually don't think we act out of selfishness as people, adults or kids or otherwise. I don't think we ever forget where, that we are here to do great things, and we're here because somebody somewhere on this earth, or all of the people on this earth at this time, need our innate skill set to be inspiring, or to be in service, or to lead, or to discover, or to whatever.
Oh, yes, and to touch people's lives along the way.
Yeah.
And you never know who you come across that might have a dream of their own that says, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys think about the word dream? We've been talking about living the dream. I think there's a little bit of stigma around the word dream versus having a goal, or versus achieving success. And what's your take on that?
Well, I'll jump in, and then Brett, you can go, and then Jess would be interested in hearing what you have to say as well. In thinking about this, dream has that connotation of kind of being dreamy, that everything has to be sweetness and light. That we have the comparison between a dream and a nightmare, for example, and yet, looking at myself and looking at Brett and looking at you, Jess, and I know several of the people in our audience right now, they may be living the dream, but it's not always a happy, go lucky, easy path to go. Sometimes it's just downright hard, and you don't equate the idea of things going not exactly wrong, but just really, arduous, and being your dream. And yet, if everything is sweetness and light, that's not necessarily, it'd be nice, but it's not necessarily what a dream is. One accomplishes one's dream sometimes through just a lot of hard work. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between the ultimate concept of living your dream and what we conventionally think about dreams. It's the difference between a cat and a kitten, maybe.
Yeah, I heard a saying once that said, dreams aren't made true. Uh, oh, dreams don't come true, dreams are made true. So it's work
Yeah.
that it takes to make a dream come true. And I think dreams, there's those fluffy dreams, la la la, la la land dreams, and then there's the dreams I think that come out of when you discover things about yourself along your own personal journey in life, that a dream comes out of that. I think discovery and dreams kind of go hand in hand.
Ooh. And I think a
Yes.
willingness to accept ourselves is another part of dreams. The permission,
Yes.
being able to give ourselves permission to have a hard day, or to flat out have a horrible day, knowing that without that experience and whatever the perfect storm was that occurred for that emotion, really balances out and will shine, make the other side of that emotion, the positives, what we would call the positive side of that emotion, that much brighter and fruitful at the next place, the next time we have the opportunity to experience it.
So, and it's not that we all have the same dream. Each and every one of us is an entirely individual person. So, that maybe another way of thinking about a dream is that there is a sweet spot, some place in this universe that we are expressing that specialness that we have in a way that is beneficial to others, but it's also pleasing to us. And there's harmony. I think that would be a good indicator that we're getting or approaching one stream and so forth. So we all find that special uniqueness that is ours, that is our place in the world. And the only way that you can do that is through self exploration and self discovery. Because I don't, you might be born with something that lets you know when you have kind of arrived, but you don't know what it is until you've done that.
And I think that's a perfect place to say thank you for joining us on the Jess Plus Scott Show, where we have been talking about living the dream. And before we wind down the conversation, we want to take just a minute to allow Brett, remind us what you do and where can we connect with you out there in the wide world of the universe if you're not in the Pacific Northwest and you can't see your truck driving around the area.
Oh, right on. Well, yeah, my website is Hammys, HAMMYS.net. That's my website, and of course, I got my crazy truck that I drive around that not everybody can see, but my website's a great place to go to. I recently just got on Pinterest, and I'm starting to pursue some of these social media things, and so I'll be putting those onto my website too, where I'm at. And what I do is I do this thing called Dream, where I bring things into my crazy head and I spin them around and something comes out and then I build it out of some really cool materials that have come along through the history of time, which is steel, concrete, and steel and concrete are the basis of everything I build because they last so long and they're wonderful products to work with. And then I cover them with all these cool modern covering techniques that make them look like they're carved out of stone and then wrapped in glass. And that's kind of what I do.
Brilliant. Well, I have to tell you, I have enjoyed this conversation, and we could keep talking about it, and there were a few twists and turns I would have been like, let's take a left turn there. Let's take a U-turn and go back there.
I was on a couple of those too. I'm like, oh, that's a whole other subject.
But we got to try and tie it in once in a while. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And
okay, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
This is the Jess Plus Scott Plus You Show, where we are exploring the supreme unselfishness of putting yourself first. We're having thoughtful conversations with people that are passionate about personal and business development. Grow, learn, and share your comments with us. Share this conversation that we've had with another person that would benefit from it right now. Keep the conversation going. Let's build upon it. Let's see where we can go to inspire others and add value to what they're trying to do in the path they're on to achieve their dreams. Thank you to Scott from the Scott Treatment, which businesses capture the potential and power of video through post-production. Find out more at thescotttreatment.com. And I'm Jess Dewell, working with business leaders that want to be so far ahead in their industry that they set the standard. Let's connect at jessicadewell.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Oh, and P.S. subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Bye-bye.